right, it is May 13th, 2025 AD, and this is the Town of Estes Park Board. This is our formal board meeting. Anyone who would like to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance with us, please do so. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll move right on to the agenda approval. Are there changes or additions to the agenda? And that includes Town Administrator Mahalik.
Thank you, Mayor. The representative for the Fine Arts Guild of the Rockies had a last-minute emergency and can't be here tonight. Has requested that the board delay considering action item number 3 to a future meeting. We can do that during the agenda approval process. If you just remove that from the agenda, we can bring that back at a later date.
Can I have a motion to, unless there are other changes, a motion to approve the agenda with that item removed for future consideration?
Mayor, I move to approve the agenda with the removal of action item 3, Performing Arts Center at Stanley Park.
I'll second.
And so Trustee Hazelton made the motion to consider the agenda minus that item. Mayor Pro Tem Sinak seconded. Any additional comments from the board? Seeing none, we can vote. And the modified agenda passes unanimously with the quorum that we have here. I should point out that Trustee Bill Brown and Trustee Eigel, Mark Eigel, neither will be here for this board meeting tonight. But we do have a quorum. We'll continue performing business. The next item is public comment on items not on the agenda. Quasi-judicial items must be reserved for the appropriate public hearing. Does any member of the public request to speak on a non-agenda item? I see no more than the motion of a bunch of living people, so I will consider that good and we'll move forward. Town board comments, liaison reports. Trustee Lancaster, you can take the first shot.
Thank you. I just have a couple things to report. One, find my notes here. On Thursday, I attended the 50th anniversary of the NOCO Foundation at the Lincoln Center in Fort Collins. That's what used to be the Community Foundation of Larimer County. They use philanthropic private dollars to help with projects all over the county. Probably about 600 people were in attendance. It was really well attended. And Estes Park was really well represented with a number of philanthropists from Estes Park in attendance there as well. And one of the key parts, or one of the best parts I thought, was during their anniversary video, one of the showcased entities was Crossroads. And they had a great program about Crossroads and what they do, and they concentrated on one of their clients who now is one of their staff members, and it was very positive for Estes Park, so we can be very proud of that, and it was great to see people from all over the county seeing the great things we're doing up here in Estes Park. And then I did just want to announce next Thursday, Trustee Youngland and I have a trustee talk in this room at 10 o'clock, so come on down and we'll talk about anything you want to talk about in regards to town business.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Sinak.
I actually have nothing, Mayor. I'm really excited about going to the trustee talk next Thursday. But other than that, nothing for me. Thank you.
Let's move forward with Trustee Youngland.
Nothing for me. Frank mentioned the trustee talk tomorrow, next week, so I'm good there.
Thank you. Trustee Hazelton.
Just one small item, Mayor. Just wanted to thank the town board and the county commissioners for their time at our joint session last week discussing the Visit Estes Park Board. I think it was good conversation. I'm looking forward to continuing the discussion and making sure we accomplish all the goals that we collectively identified. So thank you all for that opportunity.
Thank you. The only thing I'll mention in addition to what the trustees did is that I know that Larimer County Board of County Commissioners, week and a half ago did a proclamation for 2025 Mental Health Awareness Month. Though we don't have a formal proclamation prepared, I will mention that. I won't go through all of this, the different whereases, but the final statement was the Board of County Commissioners proclaim May as Mental Health Awareness Month, recognizing that mental health is a fundamental component of overall well-being and is essential to living a healthy and productive life full of joy, dignity, and purpose. And I think we can certainly agree with that without any additional discussion. At this point, we'll move forward with the town administrator report.
Thank you, Mayor. One item tonight, last week was Public Service Recognition Week. That's celebrated annually to recognize, honor, and support our local, state, and federal public employees who work hard to provide value to all communities across the nation. I wanted to extend my gratitude for our team here at the town of Estes Park and everything they do to keep the lights on, the water running, the roads safe, and all the other attendant functions of the town. So much appreciation to all the dedicated, hardworking individuals that make up the town team, including our Board of Trustees. That's all I have tonight.
And you've built a great team there across all the different departments. So very good work in putting that together. And thanks for referencing that. We have the consent agenda. And I get to read the consent agenda in full. And there are quite a few items on it, 14, but I'll read them in detail. Item 1 is the bills. Item 2, town board meeting and study session minutes dated April 22nd, 2025. Item 3, town board strategic planning session number 2, minutes dated April 18th, 2025. Item 4, transportation advisory board minutes dated March 19th, 2025, acknowledgement only. Item 5, Resolution 4225, change order for Fall River Trail final segment design with OTAC Inc., $95,900 budgeted. Item 6, Resolution 4325, contract extension for 2025 striping and pavement markings with Colorado Barricade Company, $120,431 budgeted. Item 7, Resolution 4425, change order for the construction contract with NOCO Commercial LLC for the Town Hall Variable Flow Refrigerant, VRF, systems replacement, $421,980.88 budgeted. And of course, you can find details on all of these in the posted packet online. Item 8, Resolution 4525, construction contract with TCC Corporation for the Town Hall Finance Department remodel, 170 McGregor Avenue, $295,208 budgeted. Item 9, Resolution 4625, construction contract with TCC Corporation for the Street Division Maintenance Shop Restrooms remodel, 575 Elm Road, $178,322 budgeted. Item 10, Resolution 4725, intergovernmental agreement with CDOT for 2025 Mustang to Estes transit surface. Item 11, Transportation Advisory Board appointments, reappointment of Joan Hooper for a 3-year term expiring March 31st, 2028. Appointment of Araceli Thomas for a 3-year term expiring March 31st, 2028. Appointment of Brian Denning for a 3-year term expiring March 31st, 2028. Item 12, we're getting there. Estes Park Housing Authority, reappointment of Eric Blackhurst to a term expiring April 30th, 2030. Item 13, Resolution 4825, Colorado Department of Human Services co-responder contract with Summit Stone Health Partners. And item 14, Revised Policy 101 Board assignments, which I will request to move off the consent agenda and put it as the first item on our agenda. Are there any other changes to the consent agenda? Okay, with that, I'll take a motion to approve the modified consent agenda.
So I move to approve the modified consent agenda with removal of number 14.
Second.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Sinak, seconded by Trustee Youngland. All in favor, let's go ahead and vote. The revised consent agenda passes with unanimously with the quorum we have. We'll now turn our attention to item 14 from the consent agenda. The revised policy 101 board assignments. Fundamentally, the summary of that was that during the public joint session with the Board of County Commissioners and the town trustees, at the end of that session, we were looking to fill the open vacancy on the Visit Estes Park Board. I volunteered to potentially fill that pending board approval. Since then, there has been other interest expressed from this board. And do you want to say anything, Mayor Pro Tem Sinak, at this point?
I just volunteered myself to take that position. I think that I have the history working with the board and everything, and I think that I kind of, since I was the one that was voting on going down to one trustee, I think I kind of, should be in charge of putting it back to being two trustees. So I guess I nominate myself.
And based on that, I'm willing to withdraw my offer of participating on that board. So we have at this point one candidate from the trustees to fill that position. Are there any other nominations?
No, Mayor, I was going to make a motion that we accept Mayor Pro Tem Senek's agreements that she will be on that board. And so I'd like to make a motion to accept that
All right.
for position.
I'll second.
Trustee Youngland made the motion to appoint Mayor Pro Tem Sinak to the open position on the VEP board. Trustee Lancaster seconded it. Let's go ahead and vote. And you're on. Thank you. There you go. Yeah.
First meeting's next week.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll move to reports and discussion items, which is a carryover from April 22nd, 2025. We have item 1, 2024 impact report for 6E workforce housing and child care lodging tax funds. This would be housing and child care manager Carly Banks. Hello and welcome.
Hello. We'll be pretty quick in our presentation tonight, knowing you guys have a big agenda ahead of you. You all received the printed report. We also have a couple extra copies if anyone in the audience wants them, and we'll have those available for distribution. All right, so this evening we are presenting the 2024 impact report, essentially a summary of what we distributed in funds last year and how we're doing with our long-term strategic planning, where we are with a lot of those annual objectives that we have. So here at the top of the slide, you see our annual impact report. That's due in Q1 of every year. So because of remittance, we don't actually receive our last month of revenue till March. And so we try to get this to you by the end of April. So as you remember, this was slated for that second meeting in April, which would have been more aligned with that timeline. Moving on, we'll have our strategic planning process, or the town's going through their strategic planning process. We're looking at what you guys are, what your goals and objectives are. We're going to begin stakeholder outreach and for the annual funding plan. And then we'll work with the local marketing district, Larimer County, and you all to review the plan and get that approved with the budget approval process. And then it all starts over next year. So again, this evening, it's kind of a more robust impact report than you've seen in previous years. Last year and the year prior, we presented more of a financial report, more just of a written report. In order to meet the needs of the community, we really wanted to provide more of a or in the feedback from the community, we wanted to provide more of a demonstration of the work and the impact we're doing. So there's a little pivot in what you see this year compared to previous years. Overall, this is the revenue from 2024. Visit Estes Park, our local marketing district, was established in 2009 to promote tourism. Of course, being Estes Park residents, we know that tourism is vital to our economy. Nearly 4 million visitors come through our community. With over 6,000 lodging units in the area, the lodging tax plays a big role. So thanks to the 2022 expansion of the lodging tax, we receive about $5.5 million throughout the year. Here you can see how that was distributed amongst the months, and really the majority of the revenue comes between June and September, which is expected. Between 2023 and 2024, there was a 6% increase in revenue throughout the year. You'll notice there's a town retention, that second line down. That is funds that's held by the town every year in January to pay for the housing and child care manager and operations and administration that the town does in overseeing those funds. So, and then again, in 2023, it's a much smaller number because I didn't start my position till August. Again, this was the second year, 2023 and 2024, where the funds were split 88-12, 88% being transferred to the Housing Authority on the monthly basis, 12% retained by the town to address child care issues. This is a comparison of revenue by month between 2023 and 2024. So you can see there's some slight increase by month in the month of June and in September. In your report on page 10, it dives into the 4 initiatives or priority areas. We use those terms kind of synonymously when we're talking about the use of 6E funds. We identified tuition assistance, addressing childcare workforce problems and out-of-school programs, as well as capital and facility expansion. Those 4 priorities were actually established in the ballot language and the framework before the ballot was actually passed. So we haven't had to pivot off those priorities in these first years. So diving into each priority, under tuition assistance, our goal in 2025 was affordable childcare is essential for supporting working families, enabling parents to balance their careers and caregiving responsibilities. As you know, in many reports and having EVICs here, we did distribute $188,260 to the organization for tuition assistance, served 58 children. We were also able to step in and cover families that would normally have been eligible for CCAP, which around the state is becoming more and more of a highlight for our community, as 23 counties just announced today are on a CCAP freeze, and people are really feeling it. Grant recipient to support the expansion of assistance to middle-income eligible households. That was that Buell grant. So we received those funds to help in expanding the tuition assistance programs. In addressing childcare workforce, we're looking to support the workforce, which is essential for ensuring high-quality care and education, enabling caregivers to thrive and positively impact the development of children. $68,300 was distributed between 2 licensed child care centers through the workforce subsidy. That's just a direct subsidy to centers based on their quality rating and their size. Both received infant toddler bonus last year, so they were serving children under the age of 3. We also funded a preschool fellowship program at the YMCA, which helps support the workforce pipeline locally, and we're seeing that person get director certified so that they'll be able to build their career here. There's a great quote within the report that also stated from the YMCA that they have some staff that are there nearing 18 months now, and that's with no look, without seeking other employment. And so that's a great kind of feather in our cap for retention. $35,420 was distributed for out-of-school programming. That's specifically for typically school-age children outside of school hours, after school, as well as summer programming. We were here earlier this year discussing a lot of the impact that those funds made last year. We saw a huge increase in capacity and enrollment in both after-school and summer programs. We also provided funds to the YMCA for their summer inclusion program, which provided funds for special need children who otherwise wouldn't receive services like that in the summer months. Of course, $215,000 in 6E funds were distributed for the purchase of Mountaintop. $425,000 loan was loaned from the general fund, which we're paying back this year. But of course, that purchase was able to retain 40 child care preschool spots. Nice little picture. And then here, based on looking at all 4 priority areas, you can see that the majority of the funds were distributed for tuition assistance and facility expansion, which is really in line with what we're trying to do right now in stabilizing the workforce and affordability of childcare while also increasing capacity. So overall, we have our 4 key priority areas, great outcomes this year. You can see those in more detail on page 13. But like I said, really being able to step in with tuition assistance during the CCAP freeze was great, serving more families and children than we ever have, changing demographics within our community that we're seeing throughout the county. It's really great that we're able to do that. Increasing capacity and enrollment for after school and summer programs. We're hearing retention and subsidies are really helping with our workforce. And then of course, being able to step in and be reactive. Really just because of these funds were we able to come in and purchase that facility. And I'll turn it over to Scott real quick.
I am going to run through these pretty quickly, and that's because I know you all have a full agenda, but I don't want that to be mistaken for shortcoming or not explaining what we accomplished in 24. 2024 was a big year for housing, so I want to first acknowledge how big of a year 2024 was. So we were focusing in a few key areas, land banking being one of those. We wanted to set up housing for the long-term success, and land banking is an important strategic initiative to make sure that we have land to develop on in the future based on our community's needs. We also began several developments, Fish Hatchery being one, and 775 Riverside in 2024. We stood up as our first program, a rental assistance program as well. And then, of course, we have staff and administrative costs to do all of the work that the community asked us to do. So land banking, which accounted for $5.359 million of spend in 2024. We added 117 workforce restricted units and 159, basically 160,000 for vacant land purchases. The largest purchase in 2024 was, of course, Fall River Village. It allowed us to immediately deliver 89 workforce restricted units at 80% AMI or below. So targeted at 80%, 70%, and 60% AMI rents. AMI is area median income, in case we've forgotten what AMI is.
It's been a month.
It has been a month, but we also successfully closed on Beaverbrook Crossing, which is across from Rock Inn, if you're not familiar with that. 20 units, 19 of those immediately converted from short-term rentals, just like Fall River Village, into workforce housing, again, targeting 80% or below AMI. Most of those are really sitting around in the low 70s based on the rent that we're charging there. In March of 24, we successfully closed on Grand Estates, which is 16 restricted units. Only 8 of those are formally restricted. We are operating the other 8 as workforce restricted units, even though we can't formally restrict those until we pay off the assumed debt on that property due to those restrictions. But we are operating them all with the workforce restriction.
This is Fish Hatchery.
Thank you. Catching up where we are. So development, we began pre-development work, substantial pre-development work on the Fish Hatchery site, which, as a reminder, currently no 6E funds are being used for that. We received $2 million from Larimer County as a grant to get started on that development with the singular goal of driving greater affordability and better matching the community's needs with what we're seeking to develop at Fish Hatchery. A snapshot of the current pre-development plan.
Not even be current.
That is still current. Assistance program. So we did a few items here. We focused on a rental assistance program, which allows up to $4,800 annually or $400 a month to either use on security deposit first month or a monthly subsidy, with the singular goal of injecting some additional affordability into the market. And that was a quick, easy thing that we were able to stand up to, again, add affordability into the marketplace that wasn't already there. We also did a pilot program where we used 6E funds to contribute to the purchase of a single-family home that we partnered really with Habitat. They did all of the heavy lifting, remodeled that home, put a deed restriction on it both for workforce and income restricted, and that's now been occupied for about a year and a half now by a local member of the workforce who was successfully able to purchase that home. Currently, 2 staffing positions are directly supported by 6E, so our Director of Real Estate Development and our Housing Program Manager. A portion of my salary is supported by 6E, and then our accounting partners at Loveland Housing Authority, we are paying a portion to do the development accounting work and ongoing accounting work related to 6E out of these funds as well. My goal and plan is that this will begin to decrease every year as we add more doors. The goal is that our organization becomes self-sufficient once again, as we essentially were prior to bringing 6E on. But because of the additional workload, we had to bring on staff immediately to be able to handle that volume. And my goal was within about a 5-year period, although I'm already 3 years into that, so we'll see how successful I am, is to get us back to that self-sustaining point where through our development fees, acquisition fees, we are fully supported by the rents that we charge and not via any taxpayer money. A breakdown of the fund distribution similar to what Manager Bangs showed for childcare, the 4 main areas: land banking, development, assistance programs, and staffing. What has just happened? You zoomed out? Awesome. So it shows the significant effort that went into land banking and property acquisition, which allowed us to deliver immediate units to the community. So again, focusing on those 4 areas of focus: land banking, assistance programs, development or pre-development work, and then of course our staffing and administrative costs. 2024 was really a breakthrough year. We increased affordable workforce housing units, ensuring that more of our workforce has access to affordable units. We really strengthened the support systems for families with children in care through financial assistance programs. We stabilized the childcare workforce by investing in workforce retention and the acquisition of a childcare facility. You probably could have taken this one.
You're doing great.
And we provided financial relief to residents in need and promoted housing stability through rental assistance. So 2024 really was a breakthrough year, in my opinion, for both housing and childcare. And if there are any questions, I'm sure, or we still have more.
2025 and beyond. These are quick. Oh,
Too fast. Too fast.
just looking at where we're at now, of course, 2025, we did make that switch to 80-20 split between housing and childcare. That's something that we look at on an annual basis, knowing that capital needs for childcare will change, and just looking at the pipeline of development and acquisition that the Housing Authority is going through. The revenue for 2025 was also projected another 6% increase. So far, we're on track with that. Right? Yeah.
It's early in the year.
Yeah, it's early in the year, but we're looking at that 6% increase still. And then next steps for us is really beginning that outreach with our key stakeholders, a couple public meetings, kind of presenting what's happened in the past and what we're looking at for 2026, and making sure that we're on track with what the residents and our stakeholders are feeling with housing and childcare initiatives. And that's it.
I'm glad to have joined the party in the breakthrough year. That feels good to have been part of that breakthrough year. And I just feel that we've got tremendous expertise, Director Moulton and the staff that you put around you, and we're moving in many, many great directions. So thanks for the great work. As the child care program, as your position has settled in, as the finances have settled in, and we've made real progress on different things, it's wondrous to behold because that serves the kiddos, that serves the families that need somewhere for their kiddos to be while they're performing work here in town, and it just helps keep the whole wheel go round. So thanks to both of you. Great report. Any comments or questions for Carly and Scott? And seeing none, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Will outside entities, reports and discussion items. We have some good stuff coming up here. Estes Park Middle School Rise Challenge presentation, Ravi Davis and students. I can turn over the lectern to you and you can begin your presentation. And thanks for being here and participating in all the fun at town halls. And whoever is speaking at the time, you'll want to get as close as you can to the little green lit microphone so that everybody can hear you, even those millions of people online that are watching through the great internet.
Is it enter to go forward?
What's that?
Is it enter to go? Oh, never mind.
Oh, there, she'll get you going.
Stormwater stewardship, a proactive approach to flooding through policy change. We are the environmental resilience team at Estes Park Middle School.
This year we are focusing on stormwater drainage, which is a very important topic in our community. The 2013 flood destroyed many homes and caused nearly $4 billion in damages. In collaboration with the Public Works Department and the Estes Valley Watershed Coalition, we are working to help improve the stormwater drainage plan. The decade-long flood restoration continues, and our team has helped with restoration efforts for the past several years.
So I'm sure you know, but detention basins collect runoff and stormwater. While they can support a healthy ecosystem for wildlife, their primary function is to help prevent flooding, an essential role given the history of devastating floods. Located near roads and parking lots, the basins capture water that cannot seep into the ground because of the concrete and asphalt.
Water flows through storm drains to outlets in detention basins where most water then either seeps into the ground, is soaked up by plants in a rain garden, or flows out the outlet back into the storm drainage system.
The water is sent to Lake Estes, part of the Colorado Big Thompson Project, which includes several lakes that regulate water levels and prevent flooding. If these basins fail, the entire system could malfunction, leading to severe flooding. Estes Park plays a key role in this water diversion system, completed in the 1950s, which moves water from the Colorado River to the northern Front Range and generates hydroelectric power for northern Colorado. By maintaining basins and stormwater systems, we help ensure the project functions properly, preventing flooding and supporting the area's water and power needs.
Effective stormwater management requires coordination between private and public systems. Neglecting private systems can disrupt public infrastructure, causing issues like blocked drainage or increased flooding. Additionally, stormwater disregards property boundaries, meaning both private and public systems must work together. If one does not function properly, the whole system will be affected.
We reached out to a civil engineer from the town's public works office to learn more about the basins and how we can contribute to their upkeep. We learned that the condition of privately owned basins was unknown, so we decided to inspect them ourselves. The civil engineer showed us how to conduct basin inspections and what issues to look for. This brought our attention to the disrepair a lot of the basins had fallen into.
We went out and inspected 7 privately owned basins around town to collect data.
These photos show evidence of standing water, debris, erosion, blocked inlets and outlets, sediment buildup, overgrown vegetation, and damage to the turf or structure of the basin. This shows that the private basins are being neglected.
It's important for private owners to know that there are county codes for stormwater design. With proper regular maintenance, we can ensure that the basins work as they should.
I don't know how to fix it.
Currently, the town does not have any policy on maintenance of privately owned basins. As a result, stormwater management is a reactive process, addressing issues only after flooding occurs. There's a better way to plan, being proactive, by requiring regular maintenance in privately owned detention systems so the basins can be prepared for any flooding that may occur. We are working with the Public Works Department to propose new stormwater drainage system maintenance policies that includes management for both public and private detention facilities. This policy will also align with the Larimer County Stormwater Design Standards and the Mile High Flood District Manual.
All private drainage systems should follow maintenance procedures and recommendations outlined in the Larimer County MHFD manual. Maintenance of private drainage systems will be the responsibility of the property owner. The town has the right to inspect a facility at any time and require maintenance at the owner's expense, and the design engineer is encouraged to use design techniques that reduce maintenance needs and expense. So these are all like proposed policy highlights.
We met with one of the detention basin owners to share our ideas for improving their basin. They were unaware of its current condition and appreciated hearing our feedback. This experience showed us that other basin owners might also be unaware of the condition of their basins, which is why communication, support, and the policy are so important.
Our team cares about our community and the environment. We're asking the town board to adopt the stormwater drainage system maintenance policy and make sure stormwater systems, especially privately owned detention basins, are better maintained. We have provided evidence showing that many of these basins are not being properly maintained and that regular upkeep is necessary to prevent flooding and other problems.
We also understand that it can be difficult to contact property owners who don't live in town. That's why we suggest holding a meeting just for the owners of private detention basins.
The goal of the meeting would be to explain the new policy and offer help so the other owners can take care of their basins properly. By working together, students, the town, the Watershed Coalition, and the property owners, we can keep our neighborhoods safer and reduce damage from heavy rain and flooding.
This meeting would provide an opportunity to collaborate, offer guidance, and ensure that property owners feel supported in their efforts to protect both their properties and our community.
I do have one question. How many of those private detention basins, was that in an earlier slide? Do we know how many of those there are around town?
I think we inspected 7 here. Hold on.
Yeah.
There.
Oh, there you go.
Those are all the
Okay.
ones that we inspected.
Yeah. Excellent presentation, great graphics all the way through and good tag teaming. You moved along really nicely. This is great. I have a feeling at least one of you will be sitting in one of these seats someday if you stay here in town or wherever you go, but this is really terrific. What do you think then the next actions of the town board or town staff should be?
To look at the policy change that the Watershed Coalition has created. Public Works. I meant that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And review it and reach out to the basin owners.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Do we have other questions or comments? Trustee Hazelton?
You did a great job of demonstrating the problem for us and showing us how we can engage the community. You gave us potential solutions. This was a wonderful presentation. You did a great job. Thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you.
Well, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it, and move on forward. As many of you know, I tend to ask not to have outbursts from the audience, but I will make exceptions on an occasion like this, so thank you. And thanks to Robbie Davis, the teacher. Yeah, thank you so much. We're moving to item 2, Sister Cities Youth Advisory Council. I think we have Board President Thomas here, or someone in.
Cinda.
Oh, Cinda? Okay. All right. Well, yeah, go ahead and talk about, and I actually should probably mention I was at the session with the presentation last week where the kids who took the tour were giving a presentation. Great stuff. But go ahead and introduce yourself and let's take it forward.
Briefly, I'm Cinda Bash. I'm the Vice President of Estes Park Sister Cities Association, and I'm also one of the sponsors of the Sister Cities Youth Advisory Council at the high school. So we initiated a group of students who were interested in our sister city and did some learning about it, and then we were able to do the first round of an exchange, taking these students down to Costa Rica at spring break in March. And they have a little bit of presentation to share with you all from their experience. We very much want to appreciate the community initiative funding that has come from the town to support this. We think that, you know, as the Sister Cities board, we feel very powerfully that having the youth understand their place in the world community and to make connections is super important. So we hope that you enjoy their experiences. Come on. You have to stand right up here. You guys can both stand here so you can talk into the microphone.
Yeah, and get as close as you can to the green microphone there as you speak.
Well, my name is Alexa Rojas, and I was one of the students that was able to travel to Costa Rica and learned the differences and the things that we have alike with Costa Rica and with Estes Park.
I am Jackson Gold, and I was also on the trip to Costa Rica for the Sister Cities program.
I'm Rachel Graham. I'm also one of the other co-sponsors of the Youth Advisory Council at the high school.
And I'm Glenn Case. I'm another co-sponsor.
So the physical geography of Costa Rica is that it is surrounded by the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific Ocean. It is in Central America and is bordered by Nicaragua and Panama. Costa Rica, where we went in Costa Rica is Monteverde. You can see in the northern area of in Costa Rica, and you can see San Jose is the capital of Costa Rica, which is around the center of Costa Rica.
So as you guys can see, that's like the local area. We got to go to Santa Elena, Monteverde, and San Luis. And we did a lot of activities with kids. We went horseback riding. We went to see like the animals. We did a lot of like tourist things as well.
Something I would like to add about the last slide is that that while we are sister cities with Monteverde, Monteverde is not a city itself, it's a canton or county. The city we were at and spent most of our time there was Santa Elena. Our first day in Costa Rica, Monteverde does not have an airport, so we arrived near the west coast of the west coast of Costa Rica in a city named Liberia, and we just went to a hotel in that area and stayed there for the day. And we went to the beach, and this was a picture we took of the sunset on that beach, and there were just many islands really far out. So we just spent the whole afternoon there and watching the sunset,
Which was really important because we flew all night.
Okay, so on our second day, we got to visit we got to go to a night walk where we got to see all the animals that are, that they have, there's a picture where it's all of us, and we had like little telescopes, and so we had two guides that showed us all around. We saw snakes, we saw the sloths, monkeys, and spiders, and all types of stuff. And something that amazed me was how small everything really was compared to how they look in the pictures and how far everything was really in reality to us. Like the snake, for example, it was like super, super small, but in the picture it looks a lot bigger. And in the pictures they look a lot closer than what they really were to us. Like I couldn't even see them without the telescope, which was so amazing. And yeah.
There is one story I would like to share. On the second day we were in Monteverde during the night walk, is that when we went to the area that they do night walks, we had tour guides, and the tour guides, before we went in, they all asked us what we would like to see, like what animals we would like to see. And a lot of us said that we were hoping to see a mother sloth with her baby. And before we even took a step into the forest, a lot of the tour guides started pointing up at the trees, and there was a sloth with her baby, and that's the sloth in the photo. You can't see the baby in it, but that was that one. So on the third day, we went to the cloud forest in Monteverde, and some of us, we went into zip lining, and some of us went to do hanging bridges. Afterwards, we went to another town within Monteverde called San Luis, and that's where we went to a school there. And they have a special program for education there when it's just one teacher schools. So they have students from many, many different grades, and the teachers all do it from like Zoom, do it from online. And in the photo, there were attending an English lesson for all the students, and the teacher that's teaching them English is from San Jose, the capital. And afterwards, we went to play soccer with all of the students and had lunch at that school.
On the fourth day, we got an introduction to the colegio, the high school. It's a technical and professional high school. And so the big gap in the green there is supposed to be a video of the students meeting students at the high school there. We did introduction activities around the gym so that each of our students got to meet a group of local students there and then rotate around so that individually they were all making connections, which they'll get to use the next day. And then they got another break. We got to do several of these local tourist activities in order to be able to see the surrounding countryside. And generally speaking, they were either donated by the local companies, the tourist agencies, or at a very reduced rate for us, because I'll just throw that in, because they were greeting us as their sister city, which we really appreciate. There it is.
So in our 5th day in Monteverde, we went to the high school for the second time to attend different classes. Our groups, we were split up into 2 groups. One was doing culinary and the other one was doing ecotourism. And on this day I was doing culinary, so we attended classes like cocktailery, where they teach us how to make cocktails. They're all non-alcoholic because it's the high school. And they also just had coffee making and just a lot of things, because similar to Estes Park, Monteverde is very, very big on tourism. So ecotourism and things like cocktailery or hotel keeping, which was another program they had there, are very important for businesses within Monteverde. And during that day, we also just attended some classes and like studied and like did assignments, which you can see on the photos on the right. So the next day, we also we went to the high school again to meet a lot of the students, and they had an assembly for an anniversary there, very similar to assemblies at our school. And then that night for dinner, we also went to some of the students' houses to get more like a personal, individual idea of life in Costa Rica, to try some of the foods, and it was great talking to some of the families. And another interesting thing is that they had another program at the school for circus. And the person who runs the circus program went into college for psychology in San Jose, the capital. And he started the circus program because there are a lot of students that were considered high risk for like drug abuse in the future. They found that circus, which gave everyone a connection and like support for each other, helped students like develop better, like just to have better futures and better connections with other people. On our 7th day, we did a lot of nature-related things. We went to a like a local farm and took a tour through there, where they gave us fresh coffee that they grew there and showed us how they make it. They showed us fresh chocolate as well, which we got to try, and sugar cane, and they showed us like the machines they use to take the juice out of the sugar cane that they make into sugar. We also went to we went to a wildlife sanctuary where we got to see sloths up close, and jaguars as well. We then afterwards we went to a library, and when going to Costa Rica, we brought like a whole suitcase full of books that we donated to that library. And at the end of the day, we went to like a frog zoo with the mayor of Monteverde, and we all just went looking for frogs in these tanks. So our last full day in Monteverde, we went into the cloud forest again with a lot of the students you can see in the middle bottom photo. And there were a lot of the students that were studying in the ecotourism program there. So this was a way to like train the skills they've been learning from the class. So while we were walking through the forest, they were all pointing out stuff and teaching us things. And our goal was going through the forest. We went to pick up a trail camera and take the video off of it. And we went back and we looked at the video. That took most of the day. And when we get back, we attended a festival within Santa Elena, which is the city we were in, which you can see in the top left photo.
If you have any questions for the students, they'll be excited to answer.
Trustees, questions and comments?
So I'm interested in how you felt like there were similarities between you and the other kids, and what were some of the differences you found you and the other kids. I mean, obviously language might be part of it, but that's not the majority of them, sure. So what kind of similarities did you find between you and the other students, and what kind of differences did you find in the other students?
So the main similarities and differences I've seen were just very, very just little things that were just really interesting. For example, one is while attending the high school, they like showed us a test that like one of the students did, and like here if there's like A, B, C, D, E for like each question, we would circle the one we think is correct. Yet there they X out the one they think is correct. If we did that, gave it to the teacher would probably think that's the one we thought wasn't correct. So it's just a lot of little things like that, but there just wasn't really any really, really big difference other than like language, which was something interesting that we weren't really expecting.
Trustee Youngland.
So on your visit to their homes that you got to have a meal, can you talk about maybe some differences you saw in their homes, or how they what they had to prepare their meals on versus what you have at home?
So we all split up into groups to go to different homes, but the home I went to was the woman who owned the house. She was a baker. So while we were there, she had all these ovens and baking equipment and signs in this stand and all of that. So when we're on there, you have to walk around a bunch of the like carts holding like freshly baked bread. And with cooking, it's similar to here, as in like they use gas stoves. But I just did find it interesting of how just having like your job being in your home in that kind of way.
What did the students feel about going to school? And I'm kind of fishing for an answer, because when you were talking about the schools last week, you made a very important comment, I thought, about the children in the school and what they thought of learning in the process.
So they all seem to really like school, and they really enjoy the programs they have, the ecotourism, the culinary, the hotel keeping, and all of those. But in a lot of ways, it's also similar to us. Like a lot of students here at the school, they might not think the school lunch is the best thing ever, and they thought the same thing there. Yet when we went there and tried their school lunch, we thought it was restaurant quality, that it was great. So it must just be a universal thing.
Yeah, excellent.
Can you talk about where they get their fresh, their items, like for their lunch? Do they grow them there? Do they have a greenhouse that they use? Can you say that?
So they did used to have a greenhouse there, and we saw it, but there was a storm that happened and it broke it. They've been trying to replace it, but they do have a whole farm. And one of the things we did when we attended the ecotourism classes, we actually went out there with shovels and like tilled the ground for planting. I think it was potatoes at that time. So they do grow a lot of the food that they use there and that they sell. And something else that they also have is a ranch with a bunch of milk cows. And they had a whole other building for milking those cows, and they also had pigs. And with the milk, they have a whole area where they actually hire people not associated with the school to process that milk into cheese that they sell at the markets. And they said that it always sells that immediately because of just how fresh it is. And just with other than the school, a lot of their food is locally just made in just around where they are, because just things that you usually eat in there are just grown really well there.
Well, thank you so much for the presentation, for the education, but I think most importantly, thanks for the outreach to that other culture and the welcoming of them in our direction. That is probably one of the most important things we can do in the world nowadays, is reach out to others in the same or different cultures and create those bonds. So you're part of that. So thank you so much for being part of that. I know there were several others that went too. Please pass on our thanks to them too for helping that cultural engagement.
And as one final note, we are hoping to welcome a group of students in July. So we've mentioned that last week at the presentation, but part of what Cinda was talking about, how generous the community was to help support. When we have our friends come visit us, we would also like to extend that generosity. And so we'll hopefully chat more with the town board as well as others in our community to do the same.
And we'll offer Rocky Mountain chocolate and taffy, I guess. Hopefully something more healthy than that, but we've got lots of options. Well, great. Thanks again for continuing the program and giving it such good energy. So very much appreciated. Oh. We'll move to the, and that will be the end of the applause for the night. We'll move.
It's just me.
Yeah, sorry, Bob.
Just me.
The base funding report for the Estes Valley Watershed Coalition, which is a noble cause indeed, and much appreciated.
We'll do what now? To go next, like that? And back. Okay, thank you, Town Board and staff. I'm Bob Levitt, President of the Estes Valley Watershed Coalition, and this is our report to you on our activities in 2024 and 2025. The first slide here is our organization and our mission. I'll just read through the mission because it's kind of important. So our mission is to bring together local, state, and federal partners to collaborate on projects that support the water, forest, and wildlife of the Estes Valley. And our vision dovetails into that. Our board of directors is listed here on the left, and we are, I guess, what you'd call a working board. We all volunteer and work on all the projects that we can to help our goals. And we do have two independent contractors, Willen Formeller, program coordinator, and Karen Owens, assistant coordinator. And they are contractors, not employees. So we are 10 years old now. Time flies. The organization started in 2015 in the aftermath of the 2013 flood. The rivers were really in bad shape. Fall River, Thompson, and Fish Creek needed a lot of work. And so in the first few years, that's what the organization did. I wasn't on the board then, but they got federal grants primarily to clean up the rivers and plant willows and fence off areas so the elk wouldn't get in, and stabilize the banks and all that. About 2019, the organization shifted to include the forests in the surrounding hills, because those seemed to be an important area that needed work. And there was a lot of situations where, we're looking at very dense forests, like above Mary's Lake, for example. So we went in and started doing some thinning of the trees on private landowners' properties, of course, with their approval, and we would get grants then to do that work and hire contractors to come in. And we've really been doing that all the time since about 2019, 2020. And in doing so, we've not only improved the health of the forest, but we've created a situation where they are more resistant to severe wildfires, creating defensible spaces and opening up the canopy and that kind of stuff. And this gets us over to 2024 and summarizing some of the work we've done there. I will talk a little bit more about that in one of the other slides coming up. So over this course of time, we've brought in over $5 million in investments to the Estes Valley. But I do want to say that the watershed work is equally important on the streams. We haven't really given up on that. We do a lot on the Fish Creek water area, working in the wetlands and bringing back beavers. We have 2 beavers there now, and we hope to get some more. I hope they're male, female, so we'll get some kits. But that's just an indication of the work we're doing there. Okay, the next slide, this is our work area. You can see it's outlined in red. So essentially, we have all the upper part of the Thompson watershed, Fall River, Thompson River, Fish Creek, and other small tributaries that feed into those. We also coordinate work with some of the other watershed coalitions, such as the downstream Big Thompson Watershed Coalition. And our area has some unique features. I'm not going to read through all these, but suffice it to say that we have some challenges that are different from any other watershed coalition. And moving on. Okay, this slide shows a close-up of the areas where we've been doing our work. So the red dots are where we're working this year, up in the hills primarily. The yellow dot shows our watershed work on Fish Creek in the chili camp and a little bit of the area downstream from there. So we've built, they call them beaver dam analogs, which are really fake beaver dams we put in. And then the beavers come in and they rearrange everything and get it just the way they want it. But they do show up, and the ones we have came in on their own. We didn't introduce them or anything like that. That came in last year. It's just an indication of the improvement that is happening in the watershed, flora, fauna, and so forth. We also have scientists and students that come in and examine the work we've been doing and monitor it over a period of time. So over the years, we're seeing improvement in the flora and fauna, and that's something that is of great interest to the scientists and folks from Colorado and Colorado State. Okay. And the green dots are the ones we've done in the past. So we do see ourselves as having a unique alliance with the town and county. First of all, in the comprehensive plan, we support the updating of the 2008 Wildlife Habitat Assessment, which is going to happen sometime when you do all the code reviews and code changes. This is something that will be part of it. We have talked with community development. We are one of the stakeholders that they're going to be talking to when they get involved in this part of the work. Of course, we have a role in disaster recovery, both before and after disaster. Before, it's all the mitigation work we've been doing along the streams and up in the hills, and post-disaster recovery, such as what we did after the 2013 flood. So we're on the front end, on the back end of any disaster that we would have. And we're the only nonprofit in the Estes Valley that addresses the entire ecosystem, the water, forest, and wildlife. There isn't anybody else in our valley that does that, and do that through broad collaboration with many organizations. Okay, this is the numbers chart here. On the right upper part, this is the financial aspect of our organization. So operating capacity, revenues. Capacity is something that every nonprofit has, and this is essentially what we do to keep the lights on and pay the rent, and also work on applying for grants so that we can bring in the project grant revenue. So it's an enabler for the work that we do. We also get a substantial amount of donations and in-kind revenue, and part of that is going toward our operating capacity expense. Most of it's going to project expense. And you have to understand, when we get grants for projects, the money is restricted to working on those projects. We can't just take the money and go have a party or go spend it on some operating capacity. Essentially, your funding, your $25,000 that we receive, and the other $25,000 that we receive from Northern Water are essential to our operation. Below that chart are the project supporters that we have. that provide funding and also collaboration. So you can get an idea of the left-hand column of bulleted entries. So those are local primarily, and the right-hand are national, regional, national. And then I guess I'm not going to go through all these by the numbers, but it's another way of looking at the work that we did in 2024, maximizing return on investment. When I went through this and practices, I realized I'm not going to have time to talk about all these projects. So what I wanted to put up this chart, and the next two slides, which are in your packet, are more detailed descriptions of what each of the projects entail. So when we get to question answer, I think I'll take some questions that you might have on any of these projects. And this is the overview. I'm going to skip through those because they're in your packet. These are all the supporters that we have out there, not all of them, but many of them. Collaborators and supporters. Some are financial supporters. There's a couple more things I wanted to mention. We do a lot of programs, putting on programs throughout the year, and we bring in experts to talk on different topics. And just this last Saturday, we had one on wolves, the wolves in our ecosystem, modern ecosystem, essentially. We brought in experts from around the country, the foremost expert from Yellowstone National Park, who ran the program to reintroduce wolves there. We had 130 people attending this thing at the community center. So each month we do a smaller program, but they are also pretty well attended where we bring in experts. So that's part of our mission, is the education aspect. And I have one person who wants to add some comments about his project, and then I'll take general questions that you might have. This is Frank Tice. He was one of the original members started this organization back in the day. And he wants to talk about one of the projects.
Really, good evening. Just a segue back to the kids. The environmental resilience team from the high school, we've worked with them recently. They actually wrote a grant application themselves, and we got a $4,000 grant from the thrift store to actually do a project improving a detention basin. And we're doing it this Saturday. And I'll send all of you an invite if you want to come out in the mud and dig and plant some plants. But we're planting wetland plants in the detention basin at the Raven subdivision, which is the Habitat for Humanity project. So I'll send you an invitation, but the kids did a fabulous job. I shouldn't call them kids, young adults. They're very smart, and we should use them for all our graphics from now on. Thank you.
Okay. With that, I'll take any questions that you might have on the Watershed Coalition, our projects, all this stuff. I realize we zipped through it, but I was given a mandate to do this in 7 minutes, allowing 3 minutes for you all to ask questions.
I'm not sure I have any questions except for just the evolution of, watershed to kind of an all-encompassing all the aspects of nature. Was that a plan, or did it evolve in time?
I think it evolved in time because we started essentially an organization to fix the rivers that were so badly damaged by the 2013 flood. Yeah. And the initial group that was in the organization then concentrated on that. And they got federal money coming in to the tune of about $4 million to clean up Fish Creek, right, and the Fall River, Thompson River. And then they got to that end of that, and some organizations like ours folded at that point because they said our work's done. We decided instead to expand and go into the the hillsides because there's so much that needs to be done to provide wildfire protection and improve the health of the forest. So that's kind of our evolution, and so it was done that way.
Well, you have fulfilled the expectation of base funding reports, but we've got Trustee Lancaster with a question.
Yeah, who was also on our board for a while.
Yeah. I just want to say, after being on the board and just watching this, see how much you guys get done with such little resources. And part of it is because of partnerships. We look at this slide, I mean, this is great. This is how you
Yeah.
get things done. It's working with others. But, you know, I think this is one place where the dollars that we invest get multiplied so many times. And much of what you're doing is things that's in the background that we may not notice. And what we won't notice is how when we have a fire, it won't be as bad. And we have a flood, it won't be as damaging. It's hard to look at things that don't happen. But I know if we didn't do that, people would say, well, why didn't you do more for forest management? Or why didn't you do more to manage some of the wetlands? So we wouldn't have this problem. You knew it would be a problem. And quietly, the Watershed Coalition is getting a lot done. And I know the protection that you are granting this community goes far beyond the amount of money we give you or the amount of money that you bring in grants. It's leveraged just amazingly. So thank you for all you do and the people on the board. And I know how hard you all work on this.
Well, thank you guys for supporting us, and it's really been important. And we are very committed to the work we do. All of us, like I said, we're a working board, and we're really into it, the work we do. So
Thanks, Trustee Trustee Hazelton.
Ditto what Frank said. I'm just so appreciative for the work that you do, and it was a great report. I always get a lot out of it when you come before us, and it's a really good snapshot of the really valuable and important work that you do. And I just wanted to add, too, that I love the education programs that you're doing. Very like Ranger Talk-esque, reminds me of going and sitting in Glacier Basin Campground and listening to them talk about wolves like 30 years ago. And I was so bummed to miss that one last Saturday. I hope you'll consider doing that again in the near future. I'm glad you had such a good turnout for it. But I am excited to come and listen to the Beaver program. I think that's coming up in a couple months.
Yeah.
That'll be really interesting. But I really appreciate that education piece you bring to the community as well. Obviously, great service projects, but just good opportunities to
It
get
helps
together and
people
learn.
become aware that we exist, those education programs. Because like, you know, you were saying, we're kind of behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
The fire district's that way too. If nothing happens, well, what are they doing? They're not doing anything. They're doing a lot.
No, great job. Thank you for the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Bob. We're going to convene the Liquor Licensing Authority for the Town of Estes Park. Next order of business will be the public hearing, Resolution 4925, new beer and wine liquor license filed by Galloway Reed LLC, DBA Inkwell and Brew, 150 East Elkhorn Avenue, Estes Park, Colorado 80517. And I believe from the town clerk's office, Bunny Beers will be doing double duty here and will get to the presentation. At this hearing, I got to make the official announcement, the Liquor Licensing Authority shall consider the facts and evidence determined as a result of its investigation, as well as any other facts, the reasonable requirements of the neighborhood for the type of license for which application has been made, the desires of the adult inhabitants, the number, type, and availability of liquor outlets located in or near the neighborhood under consideration, and any other pertinent matters affecting the qualifications of the applicant for the conduct of the type of business proposed. I declare the public hearing open. Town clerk will present the application and confirm a few items.
Thank you so much, Mayor. I am helping out Jackie while she is out today. So this application was filed on March 31st, 2025. This public hearing was set on April 22nd. The neighborhood boundaries for the purpose of the application were established at 3.5 miles. The town received all necessary fees and paperwork for this application. The applicant is filing as an LLC, a limited liability company, and the property is zoned commercial downtown, which allows this type of business and permitted use. The notice, the hearing was published, and the premise was posted both on May 2nd, 2025. The police report has been provided within the application, within this packet. And as of the time that the memo was written, the status of the TIPS training, the applicant is familiar of the TIPS requirement, but the status of the training is unknown at this time, though they're aware. And I was looking to see if the applicant is in the room, and so they are, and they're here to provide any comments should the board have any questions.
Yes, at this point, the applicant can state their case as they feel appropriate and present any evidence to support the application. Hello.
Good evening. It's good to see you, Mayor Hall and trustees. It's been a minute since I've been up here. So I'm Anastasia Reed. My husband, Kevin, and I, we own Inkwell and Brew down there in Riverside Plaza with the address you just listed. And we also own McDonald Bookshop, but I'm here tonight on behalf of Inkwell and Brew, respectfully requesting your approval of our beer and wine license. Just a little bit about Inkwell for folks who aren't familiar. Probably about 12 years ago, Kevin and I, it's vivid memory because it was the first time that we went away without our infant son. And we were sitting in this cool coffee shop in Boston talking, oh, if this business deal goes through, what are we going to name it? What are we going to name it? And this is when we discovered we both had a weird affinity for ampersands. So we were like, okay, well, it's got to be, it's a dual store, and we need an ampersand in the middle of it. And we settled on Inkwell pretty quick, because for those of you who don't know, we actually literally sell Inkwells. Fountain pens, stationery, that kind of stuff. And we knew the vibe that we wanted. As I'm sipping on my rosé and Kevin's drinking a cortado, we knew that was the vibe that we wanted to bring to Estes, this place where you could just slow down, journal, maybe have a nice conversation with a friend, relax, watch the snowfall, because that loft upstairs is really pretty. And so when we started thinking about, okay, what is the word for the end of the, to encompass that food and drinks, we decided on brew, because you brew a pot of coffee, you can brew tea, and you can brew beer. Well, yeah, it's been a decade and we've never applied for the beer and wine license. We thought we'd have more kids and buy another business, and then there was a pesky little COVID thing, and finally Kevin looked at me this winter and was like, I think we're ready. I think we can do this and do it well and continue providing our community that sense of a third place. If you've ever heard that term that Ray Oldenburg coined back in the late 80s, this idea that healthy communities have third places, places where people can informally gather to have conversation, build community, poetry nights, author events, just that kind of place to have good civic engagement, conversation, especially in a digital world like this. And so we're not looking to become the next wheel bar, love the wheel bar, not looking to do that. We're just looking to provide another option for our locals, for our tourists to say, ooh, it's 3 o'clock, not quite ready to go home yet. Let's go back downtown, let's have a glass of wine and just kind of sit on that beautiful patio with the flowers. Maybe pull out the laptop, send a couple more emails, maybe read a book, maybe meet up with a friend. And it gives that option for groups as well. Not everybody drinks coffee, not everybody wants to go to a bar. So it just kind of rounds it out, but also will help hopefully help the downtown in giving people a reason to go downtown and stay longer in that, 2 to 6 o'clock range. So, of course, yes, and I emailed Barb about the TIPS training, so we've been in communication about that, and are, of course, going to get that set up. We'll make sure all of our staff is trained. I've got a couple that came with me tonight. Everybody's really excited about this opportunity, and so I'm here to answer any additional questions that you all have, and thank you for considering our application.
Before we open to questions, we also give the opportunity for any opponents to the application to state their case and present any evidence in opposition of the application. Is there anyone who wants to make such a statement? And I see none. I'll open it for questions to our sponsor here of the application. And seeing no questions, I'll ask the town clerk whether any communications have been received for the application that are not in the packet, and if so, read those.
Mayor, no comments have been received on this application.
At this point, all evidence that's been presented will be accepted as part of the record. Are there any other final questions? At this point, the public hearing is closed. I will take a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. First, I'd like to say thank you very much for the background and for your vision. That's very helpful to me. And so I would be happy to make a motion to approve Resolution 49-25.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Trustee Youngland to approve the application. We have a second from Mayor Pro Tem Sinak. Other comments?
Yeah, just one quick comment and one quick question that I should have asked earlier, but I wasn't quick enough off the jump. Beer and wine, are you thinking your draft system, all cans, all bottles? That's kind of where you're headed.
Yeah, we want to start small and do it right. And so if you've ever met my husband, he's kind of a nerd about like quality and having really good stuff. And so we're like 1 or 2 choices of a beer, of a wine, in the different categories, starting with cans. It's a very small space that Inkwell has. Unless we get a bajillion dollars, I don't see us ever having a keg system or any type of tap line, mostly canned wine, canned beer, canned hard seltzers, if that falls under the beer. I think canned seltzers fall under beer and wine. We're obviously not applying for liquor either.
Thanks. One of my additional comment was just, I think it's great to have establishments that serve, multi-generational, multi-interest kind of demands. And I know there used to be a place in Netherlands, I think it's closed now, but it was called Salto. So great. You could go and have, after you'd hike in Indian Peaks, and have a coffee or have a beer or both if you really wanted to go for it. And it was a great experience. So I'm excited to see this application come across and wish you luck.
Thank you.
It is a relaxing place, and many of us patronize that spot. It'll change it a little bit, but it sounds like starting small and integrating it into the experience over there. I have no other comments. I'm prepared to ask for a vote. Go. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to Resolution 5025, the new hotel and restaurant liquor license filed by Fortuna Aurea Inc., DBA The Park Tavern, 237 and 247 West Elkhorn Avenue, Estes Park, Colorado 80517. At this hearing, all applies as I stated on the first hearing, so that all the facts and evidence determined as a result of this investigation and hearing will be considered in the course of the public hearing. I will declare this public hearing open. Town Clerk, Bunny, will you present the application and confirm the various checklist items?
Thank you, Mayor. I did neglect to mention in the last application, it is a concurrent review, which is the same for this application as well. The application was filed on April 11th, 2025, and the town board set this public hearing at the April 22nd meeting. The neighborhood boundaries for the purpose of the application are 3.5 miles. The town has received all necessary fees and paperwork for this application, and the applicant is filing as a corporation. The property is also within the commercial downtown zone district, which allows this type of business as a permitted use. And as well, the notice of hearing was published in the Trail Gazette as well as posted at the premise on May 2nd, 2025. The police report has also been provided within this application. And status of TIPS training is, it's unscheduled, but it's important for the board to know that these some of the owners of this business do have other businesses where alcohol is served, so they may have previously had TIPS training, and they're aware of the TIPS requirement. And the applicant is here to answer any questions that the board does have.
Yeah, the applicant can now state their case and present any evidence they wish to support the application.
Good evening. My name is Bipul.
And my name is Jeep Timilsina.
Yeah, we are the part owners of Park Tavern. Yeah, and thank you for considering our application. And we're looking forward to working in downtown and moving there and trying to bring something new.
And he's our chef actually for the Park Tavern. And I'm going to be running the front of the house, mostly the bar. So my end goal is by next year moving towards like a speakeasy style tavern in downtown Estes Park, which is, I think, will be the first of a kind in Estes Park.
Is this the property that was the Wapiti and the
It was
Twisted
the
Griffin?
Wapiti.
Part of it is, yes.
Yeah.
Questions and comments for the applicants before I open it to opponents?
I have a
Trustee
question.
Youngland.
Yes.
What's speakeasy? I have no idea what you're talking
It is a very hidden craft cocktail bar, basically. But we also trying to bring wine. We saw that we work at Hunter's Chop House as well. So we have a wine and whiskey bar. So we are trying to bring that as well to downtown. Bring more wine collections and craft cocktails, basically. So it's
Well,
more hidden.
Well,
Hidden
speakeasy,
concept, yeah.
it's more of a like going back in time. What I'm trying to bring in is cocktails from the 1800 and 1900 eras to downtown. So all of the cocktails are going to be focused back to like 100, 200 years ago, what they used to drink. That's what I'm trying to bring in.
Okay. Thank you.
So the word
Sounds good.
speakeasy comes from when
Right.
there was a hidden bar
Right.
that had to speak easy and quiet to
The
before
hidden
being-
door that.
Yeah, hidden door. Yeah,
Do you
but
know
it's
the
not
under
going to
the
be so
basement.
hidden, but yeah.
Not that I'm a bar expert. I did grow up in New Orleans, but. Yeah.
It'll be good, I think.
Before we move forward, I must give an opportunity to any opponents to this application to state their case and present any evidence in opposition to the application. Are there any opponents to this application? Seeing none, I'll ask the town clerk whether any communications have been received in regard to the application, and if so, read those to us.
Mayor, the clerk's office has not received any comments on this application either.
At this point, all evidence presented will be accepted as part of the record. Board of Trustees, any last questions? Trustee Hazelton?
I'm ready to make a motion if you're.
When we get the public
Yep.
hearing closed, I declare this public hearing closed. You may move forward.
I move to approve Resolution 50-25.
A second?
The motion was made by Trustee Hazelton to approve this application, this resolution actually, and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Stanek. Any last comments? None? We can vote. Thank you so much. and,
Thank you, everybody.
Look
Thank you.
forward to seeing it.
Yeah, yep.
We're going to move forward on action items. The first item on our action item menu, I almost said, is the Transportation Advisory Board member appointments and roles. I am going to move that we continue this item to the May 27th, 2025 meeting because the sponsor of that action, Trustee Mark Eigel, is not present today, and it makes more sense to have him here presenting that case to us. So I will make a motion to continue that to the May 27th meeting.
A second.
We have the motion from Mayor Hall, second from Mayor Pro Tem Stanek. Any further discussion on the item? We can vote on the continuance. Do we need to vote on the continuance? Town attorney?
We've been done voting by now if we just did it.
Yeah, we would have been done.
Mayor, it's not clear that you need to. It looks like the town clerk set this up as continuing the item just by nature of how it's written on the agenda.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big enough deal that I was going to step in, so however you see it best.
Is there any one who would not support continuing?
No, but just from point of order, probably should withdraw the motion,
Yep.
just so that we don't have a motion sitting on the table that isn't acted on.
I will withdraw the motion, and the item is continued to the May 27th meeting. Yeah, we would have been done by now. So. He who hesitates wastes time. So, item 2, Resolution 5125, setting the public hearing dates for proposed electric rate increase is Director A. It looks like we've got Mr. Lockhart here in place of Director Bergston. And so you can give us the staff report. And I will point out that I think tonight's agenda item is simply to set the dates of the public hearing, at which time we'll be entertaining whatever public comment there will be.
Yes, sir. So due to illness, our rate consultant and Mr. Bergeston, Director Bergeston, could not make it tonight, so that's why I'm filling in for tonight. And I'm hoping to fumble through this and get through this and understand both where you guys are coming from, and I hope I can explain all your questions. So, and also due to illness, we were supposed to have a meeting with our rate consultant today, but she could not make it. And so, but we did verbally talk about the rates, of course, and they are looking more around the 3.5% instead of the 5% rate increase. That's what we're going to propose to you guys for the next 3 years is 3.5% on January for the next 3 years. And you might ask, well, why is that from 5% to 3.5%? Well, this year we have a lot of grants that came in. So it kind of skewed our numbers with the amount of inventory we have in-house because we do all our projects in-house. So then your fund balance is down, but the goal is to put that inventory and get reimbursed from those grants by the end of this year. So we're talking about maybe around $1.6 million of the inventory we're talking about. So it's not a small number, it's a large number. But tonight, the reason why we have this on the action item is because I believe we want to have public comment on the electric rate increase. And we want to set dates moving forward for public comment and public hearings for June 10th and June 24th at the town board meetings. And
June 10th and June 24th?
June 10th and June 24th at the town board meetings, yes.
Do you know what time those sessions will be? Or?
Yeah,
oh, they'd be part of the
yeah,
regular board meeting. Okay,
yeah,
so sometime
starts
after.
at 7, probably 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Around there.
I can open it to public comment, but it would only be in regard to the proposed dates. We would not be entertaining questions here about the actual electric rate increase. Okay. We will do that at the appropriate public hearings. Does any member of the public request to speak on that item? Don't see motion. Based on that, do you have any other comments? Otherwise, I'll turn it over to the trustees for comments, questions, or a motion.
I have no other comments, but I'd love to answer
seeing
questions.
no comments, I would take a motion to approve the public hearing dates.
I move to approve Resolution 51-25.
Second.
Trustee Hazelton moved to approve Resolution 5125, setting the public hearing dates. Trustee Youngland seconded. We can vote. Dates established. Thank
All right.
you,
Hey,
Mr.
thank you
Lockhart.
guys very much. Have a good night.
Okay. The disturbing trend of these reported people dropping out of this meeting for illness, I hope it stops right there. So, I believe the next item, item 3, we already made the change at the beginning when we were approving the agenda. That was the Performing Arts Center, which has moved forward to a different time and place, or the same place, different time. Resolution 5225 is item 4, finding substantial compliance and initiating annexation proceedings for the Elkhorn Lodge Phase 2 annexation. And we've got Senior Planner Hornbeck, but I want to state my understanding of this item also. This is by no means a discussion and approval of annexation, which is probably still quite a few months in the future. As I understand this, and you can define it best, Mr. Hornbeck, this is for the purpose of seeing whether the annexation application meets the requirements of an annexation. Is that something of a right definition? Why don't you state it?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You're on the right track. The purpose of this item is to determine if substantial compliance with state statute for the annexation petition has been met. So we're not really considering the merits of the annexation, simply if the petition complies with statute. So a quick recap, presented a similar slide to you in March. The steps involved in annexation are all dictated by state statute. The first step, we had a referral to you in March of this year to provide a high-level overview. No formal action was taken. We are at number 2, substantial compliance resolution tonight, and the board will be determining whether the content of the annexation petition substantially complies with the Municipal Annexation Act. Town board must also set a date, time, and place for the eligibility hearing, which is number 3. And at that hearing, we would, the board would determine whether the property is eligible for annexation. Number 4, the annexation ordinance. At that time, the board would consider whether the parcel should be annexed. And at that time, or within 90 days thereafter, the board would also need to establish zoning on the parcel. And step number 6 would be considering any other related applications at some point after the annexation itself. So the annexation petition, staff has determined is in substantial compliance with the Municipal Annexation Act. I'm not going to go through all those items, but happy to get into any of those if there's any questions. Sorry, my slides got a little mixed up. So advantages, determining substantial compliance would be consistent with the requirements of the Colorado Constitution and Colorado Revised Statutes. Staff has not identified any disadvantages in determining substantial compliance. With that, staff does recommend approval of the resolution, finding substantial compliance with the Colorado Revised Statutes, initiating annexation proceedings, and setting the eligibility hearing date of June 24th. The process of determining substantial compliance does not have any impact on the town budget. Public interest in this annexation is anticipated to be high. Sample motions provided for your reference. Do want to note the applicant's representative is present as well, should you have questions for them, and I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
The trustees, I will ask if there is any member of the public who wishes to speak on this item. Seeing none, trustees, do you have questions or comments?
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor, and I think, because this is kind of confusing for a lot of people with all these steps, just want to make clear for people, these first kind of steps are kind of perfunctory for people who are listening. Even the next one we're going to talk about, is it eligible for annexation? And that means, does it meet the criteria that are set in statute? The fourth hearing, when we actually have the hearings on annexation, that's when people need to come and talk about their concerns. Because what we've done now is we've said, they referred to us, they checked all the boxes on the application. Yes, we're going to look at that later, say they were probably eligible for annexation. But the annexation ordinance is where the people need to come and start talking about, should we annex it? And that's where the real policy decisions make. And I think the board understands that, and most people do, but I want to make that clear for people because there's a lot of interest in that last step is a place where people need to come and speak either in favor or against this annexation. Because this is a little convoluted process that we don't go through very often.
Thank you. Other questions or comments for Planner Hornbeck? I would also entertain a motion at this point.
I will move to approve the resolution, what is this number?
5225.
5225, there we go. I move to approve resolution 5225.
I'll second.
Any other board comments? It was moved by Trustee Lancaster to approve Resolution 5225, seconded by Trustee Youngland, and we can vote. Thank you, Mr. Hornbeck.
Thank you.
We'll move forward now, and I've got Director Bergston on the agenda again, but perhaps there's someone else in his place. Resolution 5325, an intergovernmental grant agreement with the State of Colorado Department of Local Affairs, DOLA, for the Spruce Knob and Carriage Hills Water System Improvements Project. In place of Director Bergston, do we have another presenter?
Mayor, I'm concerned that there's nobody coming up to the microphone on this one. I know that Director Bergston is out with an illness, and I'm wondering if he neglected to designate somebody for this item. If you could give us a tactical pause so we could figure out, because I do believe this is a time-pressing issue, and I would like to figure out how we can move this forward.
I move for a tactical moment.
We'll pause for a moment. We're still online. Board session
Got the
is
same channels.
in action.
Same cat channels.
What song would you like me to sing?
If anyone needs a Nuggets update, they're winning. They are winning currently.
Hey.
Some of us pay attention to the movie,
It would, of course, be the prerogative of the board, but I bet you Director Fortini wouldn't mind if we moved him up in the agenda a little bit.
Oh, there he is.
Discussion.
Well,
He's getting sick.
Yeah, do it quickly while he's healthy.
yeah, I know. They've been dropping like flies there. So, hey, I should point out that Bike to Work Day is June 25th, right? I think that's right, June 25th. I got an announcement on that. There's a poster hanging out my door, and Town
Happy to take this
Administrator.
one, Mayor.
Thank you, Travis.
I have confirmed that this resolution is our official grant acceptance of the $1 million DOLA grant for the improvements at the Spruce Knob and Carriage Hills Water System Project. You've heard multiple updates about this over the last few months. This is the penultimate step, the second to last step in this process. Pending approval tonight from the board to formally accept this agreement, the next and final step will be the budget resolution that Director Zimmerman will bring forward at a later date to include this in the town's budget.
I think that works pretty well. Does any of the board members require additional information? We're not at the final stage. I love people who use words like penultimate, so thank you, Travis. Does any member of the public request to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll take a motion.
I'll move to approve resolution 53-25.
I'll second.
And is there any additional comment? Seeing none, we can take a vote. All right, we'll move forward to the ultimate. Our next item, Town Administrator Annual Merit. In recent history, a couple weeks ago, the 3 employees of the town board received their annual reviews, performance reviews. That's Town Administrator Mahalik, that's Municipal Judge Thrower, and that's Town Attorney Kramer. They received those, but the board chose at that time to move the discussion of the annual merit increase for Mr. Mahalik to public session, which is not uncommon, I gather, has likely happened before. The current proposal that was given to the town board during the performance review, and I should also point out that it was Graves Consulting that helped us through that process of collecting information and the evaluation, that the town would provide Town Administrator Mahalik with a 2% merit increase with the payroll paid on May 2nd, 2025, which is the time all other employees receive their various merit increases if approved by their supervisor. And we needed to, the board needs to take action within 30 days of the evaluation or by May 13th, 2025, which was the next available town board meeting. So the town board needs to give direction during this board meeting if we want to override the 2% merit increase and take a different action for Mr. Mahalik's merit increase. Are there any comments from the board in regard to this?
What's our general merit pool for employees this year?
2% this year.
So this is consistent with that?
Correct. I believe the agreement states that the default percentage increase, the default merit increase is what is set as the merit pool for all town employees.
In my opinion, Mr. Mahalik is the primary wheel that moves so many of the other wheels of the town government. While I respect the balance of the 2% increase, I would recommend a 3.5% merit increase for Mr. Mahalik. I know I know his work ethic. I see it every day, every week, every board meeting. I think we have an exceptional individual in our town administrator here. He's not perfect. None of us are. But I do think that the effort he brings, the intelligence, the understanding of other municipalities, how it all fits together, I would recommend a greater increase at a 3.5% merit increase this year.
Is that a move? Is that a motion?
I will make a motion that we increase Mr. Mahalik's salary by 3.5% effective the May 2nd, 2025, which would mean that there would be some retroactive.
I'll second.
Other comments?
I would just like to point out that on the review, he was given very high rankings throughout. So I agree that that is in line with what we heard that his review was very excellent. So I too agree with that.
I would also point out that, and thanks for that comment, that it wasn't just from the board. No. It was from staff and basically everyone who was asked about it, there was a high degree of response, and it was very high rankings. Based on the motion by Mayor Hall and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Sinek, we can vote on that motion. The motion passes with the unanimous votes of the quorum that we have here. Our next and last item is reports and discussion items, museum annual report for 2024. There he is. He's been hiding in the back and I don't have my glasses on. We have Museum Director Fortini.
Good evening, everyone.
You tell me had 2 minutes, if you don't mind.
Do what?
You tell me we had 2 minutes. Did you know that?
I believe I have an hour and 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start from the top and read this verbatim. Thanks for having me tonight. What I'm hoping to do is give some highlights from my report. I trust that everybody has read it, and I'm hoping with my highlights we'll just kind of move through it, and that'll give an opportunity to engage in any conversation where you can bring up comments or questions. And I will just dive right in so that we can move right along. Starting off with some of our accomplishments, there's two that I really want to make sure that I highlight. First, I want to thank everybody who could attend our tour of the annex, the facility next door to the museum, and the improvements that we've done up there. We were able to open it in fall of last year to public use, and we're hoping to do another tour as well with the trustees once we do have the completion of the addition that's going to be hopefully breaking ground this summer. So you will be hearing more about that. Another highlight that I want to point out, and it is kind of stated later in the report as well, but how we are moving along with our oral history inventory and collection that we have. So if you recall, we have inherited the entire local history collection from the library. More on that later. But we were able, after a couple of years, to complete an inventory of oral histories that were conducted by the library and by the museum. We landed at somewhere right around 360 oral histories, which for a community of our size is phenomenal. It's a great resource to have. We're using this year here in 2026 to digitize, we have over 160 cassette tapes, interviews. It's actually about 240 cassette tapes that we're going to digitize this year, and then we're hoping to have all 360 interviews available starting in 2027 and getting those made available for the public to utilize. So, yeah, get ready for that because that's going to be great. And keep in mind, some of those go back to the 1970s, so they're pretty wild. Moving along, most of our strategic initiatives that were not met, we are pushing them into 2025, so those will come back up again. Looking at attendance and gallery attendance, the biggest thing to point out that we're getting about 89% of our visitation are from first-time visitors, so which means we have 11% of repeat visitors. Our goal is to have at least 10% of repeat visitation, but usually we like to see that number a little bit higher, so that's something that we're going to be working on as we get into some updates with our gallery and reworking it. Repeat visitation just means that people like it so much, they're coming back again and again, and hopefully again. And so that's why we like to see that number a little bit higher. It's also just fun to see where everybody's coming from, and no surprise that outside of Colorado, most of our visitors are from Texas and Nebraska, which I would ask in trivia, but everybody already knows the answer to that one. You'll see the friends of the museum, and a lot of what they've done throughout, they are like peppered throughout this report. It's very important to recognize them. As you know and recall, they did a reorganization a couple of years ago. Their focus is now on fundraising and advocacy for the museum. They've been doing a phenomenal job with fundraising through various means. They're being very smart with how they are managing their money and investments. And they have also pursued some grants. And so you'll see some more of that in the report itself. Any questions so far? Okay, moving right along, because that does get us into our digitizing our local newspapers. This is something that we've been pursuing collaboratively with the library district since 2018. The Friends of the Museum are huge financial backers on that. And then we also have contributions from the town and from the library district. The cool thing to point out about this is if you compare our numbers in 2023 and 2024, the views and the searches have doubled from 23 to 24. We have gone from being the top 3 most viewed newspapers on the Colorado Historic Newspaper Collection website, which is where we host those digital files, to number 5. However, keep in mind that they have over 800 newspaper titles in that collection, and for our small museum and community to be in the top 5 is pretty phenomenal. This is also an exciting project because we're thinking within the next 4 years that we can be completed to our goal, which is to be digitized up to the current year. And then every year we're just working on doing the previous year, so we'll keep up with it. And so we're continuing to chip away at that. When we look at outside funding, again, it's important to note the Friends. They are the funding mechanism that really offset our budget to make as a museum. So they're funding our exhibits, our collections care, our programming so that it can be free to the public. Things like that that really make us our services and stand out as a museum here locally. And then they also take on big projects, of course, and smaller projects, but some of the bigger ones being those annex improvements. And we're hoping to complete all of those this year, which they have raised over $600,000 for. So we'll be chipping away at that. And then the other big thing to highlight too is that we are now completing the 12-month contract positions that we started last year. The Friends funded 75% of those positions. One was a visitor coordinator position that was 28 hours a week. They were able to reintroduce the museum shop, redevelop the museum membership program, and then they took over a lot of day-to-day responsibilities, alleviating that from the rest of staff. So gallery management on a day-to-day basis, and also volunteer management, which is a huge role, which we'll see numbers of that later too.
Can I ask a question
Yeah,
back
definitely.
on the massive amount of digitization
Yeah.
and not just the newspapers, but I know you have lots of other stuff
Definitely.
in that, other documents and things. What's the backup process to protect that data? Where is all of that data stored in triplicate?
It's stored digitally.
Yeah.
That's where we work with IT. They are the gurus on that.
Okay.
Backing it up. Our biggest hope and requirement and professional opinion with IT in backing up all of that is that we have multiple locations.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things. So if you lose one facility, you still have that backup somewhere else. But because we are making so many efforts and so much money is being invested into it, it is important to back it all up.
Yeah.
So it's nice with the library or with the newspapers themselves. We also collaborate so that the library is also backing up all of those files since they're invested in it. But most of it's done all through IT. Good question.
Good. Okay. Thanks.
I know for a long time there, we were taking up most of the digital memory of the town until PD got body cams and they blew us out of the water. The other position they funded, the Friends funded, was the collections assistant, which was a full-time position. This is a great one to move into the next page where we talk about collections, comparison, and donations. That position was specifically scope focused to help with our backlog of that 2016 donation by the Estes Valley Library District. And you can see in our 2016 numbers, and it's footnoted down at the bottom, that the number originally was about 1,120 artifacts or items that were donated that year. That's increased by 795 artifacts and 13 collections. That's what this full-time position has been working on. And so it's very important to recognize that it took somebody working 40 hours a week for an entire year to be able to process that backlog that we had. There was no other way in catching up with something like that, especially at that scale. So you can see, you know, looking at the other years that follow that, we average anywhere from 150 to 200 artifacts that are being donated and processed. And along with all the other tasks that the curator of collection has, that time is maxed out. So to be able to have that position was it was a huge boost for us. Of course, we have all sorts of other projects in collections as well that we need to get caught up on. But both of those positions, now with the Friends funding at about 50%, have been renewed for another year. And so we're going to be seeing those positions carry through until May of next year. So we're very excited for that. And that position specifically would be working on other backlogs that we have. So that's a very important thing to note. And if you had to put that all together too, it's 795 individual artifacts and those 13 collections. Usually a collection, it's so large, it's usually 100 or more items, and it can be anywhere from 100. Like think of our local service clubs. You know, if the women's club, who has like 5 boxes of things, we're not going to be able to process every single piece of paper, even if we wanted to. And so it's coming up with organizing it where it makes sense, coming up with finding it so that somebody can utilize it, or else what would be the point of keeping it? But we have 13 collections within that collection that have 100 or more artifacts with them or manuscripts. So it's a very large collection, but I'm excited that we can get it all completed and up to date. I'll keep moving along. As I said, I touch on it real quick with the volunteer comparison. That's another thing just to note that the amount of hours that our 28 volunteers put in, it is equivalent to a 3/4 time position as well. So we obviously do get a lot of help from volunteers and are very appreciative of that. Looking forward into the future with our strategic initiatives for 2025. We're super excited to have those 2 12-month contract positions and in moving forward. One of the backlogs that the collections assistant will be focusing on is a Joe Mills donation. So this was the younger brother of Enos Mills, who did all sorts of stuff for our community and outside our community. We had a donation from the family in 2013, and then 10 years later had another donation from them. And because it hadn't been processed yet, because it's a huge family collection, we couldn't even compare the 2023 donation with what we got in 2013. And so obviously there's an issue there. So we're going to be working on that. And then we also had some backlogs of just general donations from 2012. So that position should be able to help out with that. And then we're going to keep the visitor coordinator position, that is a 3/4 time position, pretty much focused on what they are currently doing, and just kind of keep clicking along with that. And the other big thing, because I know everybody is so curious about our moth mitigation, this is going to be the other thing that we are continually working on, and are grateful to have that collections assistant position to help out with that too. I now know more about moths than I ever thought I would. Our curator of collections, Jessica Mitchak, knows even more than I do, and I'm okay at that. She's doing a great job. For a while there, we had to shut down in December to start mitigating this, and then we discovered them in our collections facility up in the museum annex, the one place we did not want them to be. We're pretty sure that's where it originated from, and it probably stems originally from our offsite storage, and we are fighting several generations of these moths. But I'm happy to say I think we're winning, at least this week. But the good thing is we've come up with a system. We're grateful for the facility that we have and all the upgrades that we've had up there. We wouldn't be able to do this if we didn't have the right staff in charge, the volunteer support, and a walk-in freezer, to tell you the truth. That's been a huge plus for us. Now that we are mitigating them, everybody seems to mishear this when I say this. We are freezing them, we're cleaning the artifacts, we have to create microenvironments, so we rebag artifacts, put them in bins, and we have to monitor them for at least 30 months. So yes, almost 3 years, to make sure that these suckers are done for and not reintroduced into our collection. So we've actually have an isolation room for all of those artifacts to go into, and we'll be watching these. So the big part of it is done, and we are doing very well with it. And that building is spotless, which is awesome, as a result of doing some of that mitigation work. But we're going to continue to do that here into the future. Last thing that I wanted to share here too was the membership questionnaire that we put together this year, or that we did last fall actually, with our membership. I think these are important remarks and statistics to look at. This is our vested interest group. They're members of the museum. They're financially supporting us. They see the kind of the ins and outs of the museum through their membership. And the biggest thing to point out too, of course, is it's kind of a compliment And it's like an apparently simple request that they have for us, but it's much more complex, as you all know. They want more of everything because they enjoy it all, which I'm glad they're enjoying it, but we only have so many resources. And so it's a very important thing to note, and it is very complimentary, all of the compliments that they pass along to us, especially when we gave them an opportunity to air grievances, and they chose to just air compliments, which is awesome. But I'm hoping everybody was able to spend some time with that as well. So I'm more than happy to take any questions if you have them or comments.
There's a lot of work in running a museum in Estes Park.
There is.
And it's good that you do have that staff. I've met some of them during, a few months ago. We were over getting a little bit of a tour and the new annex and everything. So great folks that you surrounded yourself with. Any other comments?
Thank you.
Trustee Lancaster.
Derek, it's just a great report.
Thank you.
It was really a lot of good information in there, and of all the departments we have, you're my rabbit hole. I mean, if I get into looking at the pictures and start looking down, oh my gosh, next thing you know, it's hours later, I'm trying to find all the things that are digitized, and now the newspapers are going to be that way too. There's so much cool stuff in there. It's really an asset for our community. But great report.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
With that being said, thank you so much, Director Fortini, for the great report and the ongoing great work.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Keeping our legacy. Yep.
Thanks.
I think we have, before we adjourn, we have at least one additional comment. Trustee Hazelton.
Yeah, one comment, Mayor. I apologize. I forgot to mention this when we were discussing the Elkhorn annexation item, that resolution. The board received earlier today a letter of support from the Visit Estes Park Board of Directors. They had discussed at their last public meeting in April the proposal. They received a presentation from the Elkhorn Lodge folks and decided that they wanted to support it. So I just wanted to clarify. I know this will likely come up when we get to step 4 as well, but I was recused from that, did not participate in that vote or discussion. So I just wanted to make that clear for the public record, since that is something we'll have to consider later. But I will again mention that when it comes up. I just was remiss in not doing that tonight. So just FYI, I was recused from that, but the rest of the board had the conversation and made the vote.
I believe we also received a letter of support for the annexation from the Chamber of Commerce. Is that correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
I believe so.
So interesting information to receive. With that being said, no other comments in there.
Mayor, I had one last one, and only because he stayed for the whole meeting. I'll introduce him at the beginning of the meeting next time, like I should have introduced him at the beginning of the meeting this time. I do want to introduce David Greer. David is our new Public Works Director. We're happy to have him join us. He joined us a couple of weeks ago, and he's settling in.
Like Travis said, yeah, my name's David Greer. I'm the new Public Works Director. I've been there just over 2 weeks. I'm loving it. I tell you, this is a great community. I've been walking to work and looking at the beautiful mountains every morning, and I'm really enjoying the job. It's like drinking through a fire hose, though. You know, it's a lot to learn, but I'm getting there, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks. It might be a fire hose. It might not be quite as big a fire hose as Travis County in Texas with Austin and everything else in there. But yeah, there's an awful lot going on, and thanks so much for being here. And welcome to the community, to the town staff. And I guess, is this your first board meeting?
This is, yes.
Yeah, you'll have to give me ratings and see how we did. So
that's very interesting. I love the kids.
Yeah.
I saw 8 new civil engineers up here talking at the middle school, so I'm excited.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Do I have a motion to extend past 10? Oh, wait, we don't need to do that tonight. Thanks so much. This meeting is adjourned.